So now we're going to create the pop-up menus for things like the attachment button and the emoji icon. So when you click this attachment, we want like a little menu similar to this bubble. So we'll start with just this bubble, I think, for now. We want that sort of popping up here when we click this attach button. Same for when we do the emoji, we want sort of a big menu popping up with all emojis to select, and this will be like a drop down menu. So we'll just get started with the attachment one first and work our way through that. I guess the first thing we want is a command to this attach button. So right now there's no command. Press F7 in here. It looks like we haven't even got the ViewModel set up here. So I think we've got a ViewModel. ViewModels, chat. It's the chat page. So this is kind of, we can bind the chat page. Let's take a look. So this chat page is more like a chat message list. It's sort of the overview of an entire chat message. So I'm going to use this ViewModel. And then hide that out of the way a sec. I'm just wondering where we've got the... Oh, this is all just design data at the moment, that's why. So now we're bound to a chat message list view model. We need to add a command, so we need some region here first to clean this up. So public properties. What was that shortcut I used to use for the regions? Control K S, that was a good remembering. KS and then region. I don't think that's how. Oh yeah, there we go. And this would be public commands. And here we'll do a public I command. And we'll call this attach button command. Then we'll need a constructor. And then in here we'll create the new command. We'll also need a command methods for when the attachment button is run. Let's just rename that one. Public properties fine, attachment button done. And now we make the attachment button command a new relay command, and it can be the attachment button. So now we have an attach command to do something. So we need now another property for when the attachment menu will be visible. So I'll have a boolean, I'll call it attachment menu visible. And then all we need to do in the command is now simply toggle that value. So we do attachment menu visibility duck face equals true, which basically toggles a boolean between true and false. And I just call that duck face. That's not actually what it is. It's just a boolean XOR, I believe, that one. But I always call that duck face. It's easy to remember. So we've got the command method. We're bound here to that view model. So now we should be able to bind this button's command to attachment, and you usually get IntelliSense here. I've noticed sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Attachment, oh, I know why actually. You get it if you bind it in the XAML side, but because we've bound it in the code behind, you don't get the IntelliSense. So this is attachment menu visible. And then we can run that, I guess, and just check the chat menu, no, chat message list view model, where we were. We could just breakpoint into here, run this and click to make sure we hit this function. Oh yeah, we've also got to change the view model type here, because we changed the code behind here. We also need to change it here. So now we click this, and I think it's, has it broke point behind and not shown us? No. Chat message list view model. Okay, so we are not getting this. So let's take a look why. Let's first make sure we've typed the right thing. Attachment button command. And where were we? Chat page. Oh, attachment menu visible. No, bind it to the button command, not the visibility property. So we click this, and there we go. We now get was false, it's now true. Click it again, was true, now false. So we've now got a property that we're toggling. Now all we need to do is make a menu pop up here, and then bind the visibility and animate it in and out. So we're going to create a new control. So we'll go to controls. It's not really chat, we'll just make a new control here. User control, we'll just call this bubble content. We're just going to make it a content control, styled like a bubble. And then in here, we could just copy and paste the bubble style from wherever that was, which I think is be a chat message list item control XAML, I think. So we could copy this, which is basically a border and a grid with 3 rows and the bubble anchor. So let's start by just copying this chat message container and paste it into our control here. One other thing, let's just get rid of this controls namespace because we're inside the controls folder. And now the main grid, we don't care about all this margin stuff here now. Just get rid of that. Just the grid's fine. Triggers for time, we don't care about that. Row definitions will stay the same, apart from we won't have the 3rd row for the time, so remove the 1 row. Move that right over. Right, the speech bubble rectangle will keep. We'll have everything there. The background we will need to change after, so for now let's just set it by default. So just foreground light. Then you've got the text block inside with message text. This is going to change. So for now, just so we can visualize it, just put the word test, but this will change to content. Instead of it being text inside the bubble, the whole point of this bubble control is so that we can put any kind of content inside, and this bubble will simply act as the pop-up container around it. Then we've got this horizontal alignment. Again, we'll bind to another property after. So for now, let's just do left. The fill is again For now, let's just do static resource to foreground white. Time containers are gone, so they can simply be deleted. And there we make this designer height a bit more realistic. And zoom this out to 100. We can see there now we've got a bubble with some test in. For now that'll do. We've just got the general shape. We'll come back and finish this control off. But what we're going to do is fix that. We're going to animate this in now. So we've got bubble content. We won't worry about finishing that for now. We've just got the control ready for use. So back in the chat page, there's multiple ways we can do a pop-up. So there's a thing called a context menu, which will pop up exactly where the mouse is. So if we opened like Notepad and we were to type something here and right click, this is a context menu wherever you're right clicking. And we could sort of adapt that and tweak it, but the problem with context menus is as soon as you move or click outside, things close. So you might not want that, and plus we want this sort of layout to flow inside of our actual UI. We don't want it just to randomly pop up and not look in place. So instead of like a conventional pop-up menu that you might think you'd make a menu that physically does draw just from where your mouse clicks or from a set point and just simply expand, we're not going to do that. Because WPF is so easy, what we're going to do is simply place this control inside the actual UI that's visible and hide it when it's not visible. So you'll see what I mean in a moment. So when we're clicking this this attachment button, we want the menu to appear here, sort of pop up above the button. So we want it inside this grid, which you can see is grid row 1. So here we'll just add attachment menu pop-up. It'll be a local bubble content, and it's in the grid row 1, and that'll now fill it with that. So the next thing we want to do is vertically align it to the bottom, and we'll move this into styling and things afterwards. I'm just getting it visual, designing it once first, and then we'll optimize after. And horizontal alignment to the left, and let's just run that and see what it looks like. And you can see that's now where it would pop up, which looks okay. There's a few issues. One, we clearly need a border because that's just white on white, and then we want to bump it away from this edge slightly. So let's just fix those two things. So back to the bubble content. Let's add a drop shadow around this border and this path. So in the border, we want, and we should be able to make the standard effects work, hopefully. We'll have a border effect to drop shadow. I'll try blur radius, say 4, shadow depth 2. Can't see much here at the minute. Let's just make this background white, just so we can visually see. Okay, that was the wrong thing. Okay, so that gives us a little bit of visual. Right, so we can sort of see that's how it's appearing. That's a bit harsh. Let's change the colour of that. So we want, I don't know, maybe try the blue. Or light blue. That looks okay. Not too bad. Let's leave it at that for now. And then we want the same thing for the path. So we want to change the end of a path to open and close. And then inside the effects, we've got, and you can see we've actually got a slight overlay there. Let's zoom in so you can see that. So you can see you get this needs to be behind. So we want the border in this case to be Z index of 1. I didn't do much. 2, okay, so in fact We don't want that to be 1, because then this overrides it. So what we want to do is simply tweak this shadow effect so that, and let's actually make sure this is set to pan. Oh, this is already set to be in front, so that's fine. So let's just play with this value to try and get rid of that issue there. So let's just lower that down slightly. That's almost gone. And let's bump this out then to 3 as well. So that's like gone. I can get a good view. That's got rid of the noticeable shadow there, and it just means we've got a slightly thicker shadow here. But I think when we look at that at 100%, that's going to look okay. I don't think that looks bad. We could potentially, the issue is the depth is what moves it away. We need to keep that away, like that, so that we don't get the drop shadow above. So the depth has always got to be above the radius, I guess. So we could reduce the radius, but then that's going to make it a harsher shadow. You can't increase it, because once you increase, then you start seeing the blur above. So we could actually layer something on top of this again just to draw over, but I think, to be honest, just for how easy it is and how close that is, I think 3 is fine there. So I think that'll work for just a bit of a border to visually break up the appearance. Oh yeah, we've got to remove the temporary white background and margin that I added to the whole thing. So there's a nice just border, which I think is just enough. So now we just want to pad it out slightly. So again, we will bind this to a property after, but let me just see if margin left would do. So we did just a margin left, it'd shift it over. Would 5 work? Oops, that was not what I meant to press. I meant to press the number 5, not F5. Alright, let's just see what this margin looks like at 5. So that looks okay. That's alright for like a small bump without moving the. We haven't moved the arrow over, because we want that to stay in line with that. Ideally, we just want to sort of get it a bit closer. Just a mini tweak for the UI, just to look nice. And then another suggestion I had in the previous video as well, we might as well show this now, is a thing called Edit and Continue. That one of the people in the video noticed I wasn't using. So as I'm stopping and starting and tweaking this value, there's an easier way to do that. So first, make sure in your tools, options, yeah, this is going to be fun. Where is it? I think we just type XAML. Text editor, XAML, nope. Debugging general. Yeah, so it's in the debugging section. So it will be debugging general, and then in this big list you'll see halfway down here I always turn this off. Enable UI debugging. Turn this back on, and then I simply get rid of this show runtime tools in application. This is what's on by default anyway. So if I leave that on for a moment, spin up the application, this is what some of you will get, this black thing here. And it's just a bunch of tools, so you hover over and it tells you go to live visual tree. So you click that and it's going to the actual, basically switch over to here to edit things. And then you've got enable selection, and then you can select, you can see you can visually select if you're wondering what that is or where this bubble content is. You can click things. You've got display outline, as in visual, you know, padding and margin and things, all things aimed mainly at UI design. So I don't use this, and I also don't like it getting in the way of the application. But you need the tools on, if you will, in order to be able to edit things on the fly. So what I do, you can leave it on like that, but I just simply turn off that one and leave this edit and continue checked. So long as that's on, you should now be able to run the application, and then you see this margin here we added as 5. We should just be able to go back here, type 15, save, and come back and you can see it's moved. So if I were to change that to 0, I'm not rebuilding, it's still running. You can see the orange bar at the bottom, and you can see it's live updating the UI. So it's just that quicker for if you really want to mess with appearance on the fly. I don't personally use it, I don't know, it's just more of a I find it a bit more. It's not really longer. It clearly is quicker, but something I've just not done. I don't use, so it's just not something that I'm, used to using. So you'll probably not see me using that, as much as it might annoy some people. But it's an option for you to use, as you see fit and if you like. It's just that I don't generally use that feature, but it would be really useful in situations like this. So that's XAML edit and continue feature basically. So back to what we were doing. We've got this menu now, this pop-up menu that's here ready. We haven't sort of bound it or created any way to fill it with content yet, but we just got the UI there. Next thing we want to do then is really animate this, just like we animate everything else. We want to animate this up and down, I guess. So when you click this, it animates up and down. So we'll start with, we have properties, attach properties for the animation, I think. Animation, framework, this is a huge class name, framework element animation attached properties. And then here we have animate slide in from left, which is what we used on the side menu. So we can just attach a attached property to an element like this side menu. We simply attach this to whatever we want to animate, and we bind it to a boolean that hides or shows, and that's what hides and shows this side menu. So we want to do the same thing. It's really useful. We're going to make a new one for animating up and down. So if we copy and paste this, animates element sliding in from the left on show. So sliding up from the bottom on show, and sliding out to the bottom on hide. So animate slide up, slide in from, I guess actually we'll keep the names the same. It's sliding in from bottom, isn't it? So it's sliding up basically. And then we want to make sure that is also the same class name there inside the property. And then on the animate, we need now slide and fade in from bottom async. So in fact, let's just F12 into the first one, and then just collapse all this. So we've got slide and fade in from left, slide and fade in from right, slide and fade out to left. So really these are sort of, we should group these better. There should be a region with slide in from left, sort of a pair, if you will. You've got to have a matching pair. So slide and fade in from right is obviously another one. Move that out of the way a minute. That will go below. So that's the slide in and out for the left. And then we've got the right. And that's a better organization. So now we can just copy one of these. Let's take the left as an example. Paste it down here. Slide in from bottom, which means slide up. Slides an element in from the bottom. I've also noticed that's the wrong comment there. Slides an element in from the right. It's from the left. Slides an element out to the left, that's right. So this is slide in from bottom. Slides an element in from the bottom. The same height in this case. And then the width needs to change to height because we're going up and down this time. The animation height to animate the element height is used. Then we have slide and fade in from bottom. And that changes to height. We get a storyboard, and then we need to go another level deeper now. We need a new storyboard helper. Add slide from left. We need to change to, just press F12, and then in here we want to, I guess, group these again and do a slide from bottom. So we have slide from left, slide from right, slide to left, to right. So these are really to and from left and right. So let's group these again. Sliding to from left. From left to left. And then this will be from and to right, or to from right. And then we've got the fade ins. So this is just tidying up the code. These regions just simply keep things organized. We'll copy and paste the slide to and from left, paste it below here. Slide to from bottom. And then we just need to rename everything again. Add slide from bottom. The time the animation will take, the distance to the left to start from, the distance to the bottom to start from. It's the same height during animation. Add slide from bottom. So this means basically, you know, sliding up. It's sliding from the bottom, and the way it's going to go is obviously up because it's going away from the bottom. Everything else in there looks okay. So we make an animation, and here we originally moved from the left, and if we wanted to keep the same height, we offset the right to the opposite. So this time the left stays the same. The top will be whether we keep the margin or not. The right's 0, and the bottom is the margin. So we simply flip that around to be, you know, adjust the bottom margin, and if you want to keep the height, then, you know, animate the top margin at the same time. And that's all that is there. That's the whole function. And then add slide to bottom, so sliding out. Add the slide to bottom on the animation. The distance to the bottom to end at. Whether or not keep the element's height. And then again, same here. Left is 0, top is kept, right is that, bottom is that. Left, top, right, bottom, yeah, that's it. So that's now the slide to bottom. We could go ahead and add the top as well, to and from the top, but I won't do it in this video. I think we've done enough mundane copy-paste stuff here. So now back to the framework element animation class. Slide and fade in from bottom. We can now add, instead of slide from left, we can add slide from bottom. Add slide for, and that's the wrong comment in here again. Add slide, oh no, it doesn't add slide from right. This kind of wants to be add slide to left, really. Makes more sense. And add slide from left. Yeah, the comments are not quite right from the copy and paste previously. So add slide from bottom, which means slide in, which is right. And it's either the height you specify, if not, then it's the actual height, not the actual width. And then we fade in as normal, we begin and we show. So that's all the same. So that's the slide in from bottom. And now we need the slide out to bottom. So this is sliding away. So this is all the same as the last one. I'm just updating all the comments and renaming little bits. So we have add slide to bottom now. Change the comment, add slide to bottom. The height, otherwise it's the actual height. And then fade out. So I think that's it. That's now the slide out to bottom, slide in from bottom animations done. So we step up back to where we were here, and we finally get back to the slide in from bottom attach property. So now, if you want to animate in, you want to slide in from the bottom, because you want to come up. So change that to slide in from bottom. And when you're sliding away, slide out to bottom. And that should be it. So now we should have an attach property that we can attach to this. So we do local colon animate slide in from bottom property dot value equals true. We can't do much there. We need to bind this really to see it happening. But luckily we've already done that, so we already have the binding set up and ready to work. And it was the attachment menu visible property, and we just need to convert that. Actually, we don't need to convert it because it's a boolean in this case. So I think that's it. Starting from bottom property does exist, it just needs building. So now, when we click this, it should, hey, there we go, animates up, animates down. So there's our nice little attached animation of like a, an attachment button that pops up, and then nothing, it doesn't close when you click away, which is what we want really. You can always tweak that. If you wanted this to close when you click away, you could just bind to, do an input binding to like left mouse on this entire grid, and then attach that to a new command, and in that command you could simply constantly set all pop-up menu booleans to false. But we don't want to do that for ours. I think this is how we want it to act for now. Obviously when we click something in here we'd hide ourselves, so we might add that function. So now we've got the basic menu hiding and showing the pop-up, which I think is really nice. Let's go ahead and make this a usable control now. So right now we've got the bubble content, which is fairly hard coded. So we have the background hard set to a light brush, we have all the sizes set, we have the text just hard set. This is not really usable as a control. So when you extend a user control and you want to say provide the ability to change this bubble color, you'd have to use dependency properties, which I really dislike. So we had to use a dependency property once so far. I can't even remember where it was. Let's just do a search. I know we had to make one somewhere. Page host. So we did it for the current page, and you can see this is all just for making one property just called current page. And all we should really have to do is do public base page, current property, get set. But instead we have to do all this extra, which I just really dislike. And that's just the way that WPF usually works. So instead, what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to have one, or do we even need that? Let me think this through. I'm going to use the data context, which is already something we can set. And it's kind of the point of it is that. And I'm going to sort of use a ViewModel for the styling of the entire control. So even though it's a ViewModel, and typically you wouldn't use a ViewModel like this, this is the point of software development. You don't just stick to a specific workflow and never deviate from it just because that's a workflow. So you might get people saying, oh well, this isn't what you use MVVM for, or you don't use a ViewModel for that. But that's where you get bad development, because then you're limiting your knowledge and your capabilities, because you're trying to develop something in a certain way instead of developing the product how you want to make it in the most efficient way. So all the ViewModel is really, as we've described before, is if we step down into it, it just implements iProperty notify change, and that's it. That's really all, for the most part, what a ViewModel is. It's about notifying its listeners of changes. So that's ideal for us because we want to, say, create a ViewModel, and we'll bind the whole thing to this ViewModel, including like the background color and everything. And then when we come to create a specific bubble content, like an attachment bubble content, all we've got to do is make a ViewModel, an attachment menu ViewModel that we bind to the bubble content, and that then also fits in with our background ViewModels, where, say, that menu, pop-up menu comes from, I don't know, the internet or something. Say you were pulled in some information from an outside source. All you need to do is make a single class, an attachment menu ViewModel class, and bind it to this bubble content, and your whole menu is constructed for you. So instead of doing dependency properties, we're going to make a ViewModel, and let's just see how this goes. We've not done it yet, but I'm sure this will work. So because this is UI dependent, ViewModels typically aren't. Again, that's where I'm saying people will say, well, this isn't a ViewModel because it's bound to a view. It doesn't matter. Call it what you like. You can call it something different than a ViewModel. You can call it a user control model. I really don't care. It's basically, the principle is we're going to get some easy binding to our control. So we're going to make it in the Facetto.word application, similar to this window ViewModel, that again kind of breaks ViewModel procedure because we're passing in a hard-coded UI element here, the window. So that's if you will, an issue. It's not a true ViewModel, but that really doesn't matter for our purposes. So we're going to go ahead and just make another ViewModel in the Facetto Word application project, and we'll call this one bubble content. So let's make a new class, bubble content ViewModel, and we will make, well, that's fine there to be honest for now. Well, no, let's make one bubble content, because we're going to have a design model as well, so we can visually design. So this will be a public class. Get rid of all the unused stuff. Implement the base ViewModel. Comment this class. Then we want, I guess we'll start with, we need a background color for the bubble, so we can change the background color. So let's make a region. And this will be a brush. Now then, is it media brush or is it oh yeah, it's media brush, it's the only option. So make a brush and we'll call this, I don't know, bubble background. And that's now a bindable ViewModel property. Background color of the bubble. We then also want, this is going to be a content control, so we're going to actually have a control that we can then fill in with any control that we like. And this will be called content of the bubble. And we'll want, because I can already see a need for aligning this arrow to the right for when the pop-up's on the other side, and potentially in future top and bottom. So we want for now a horizontal alignment. And this will be arrow alignment. And I think that'll do. So that's the public properties. We probably want to, well, we do want to set things up by default. So let's just do, keep trying to remember to use this new region command. Constructor and comment that. So we will set default values. We want the background color to be the application.current.findResource, and we set it to foreground light brush, and that needs to be as brush. So that will then become, well, we'll do the binding after. So we've got that color. The content is, I guess, for, we don't really want any default content, no we don't. And the alignment we want to be left. So arrow alignment equals left by default. So that will be our bubble content view model. So we can now bind in here, we could bind it to a new bubble content view model. But we don't have that yet anywhere, we haven't created that. So we could create that in, I guess a good place would be in this view model, because this wants to then bind to it. So we'd have a public property, public bubble. Now then, no. That's the only place we're going to get issues here, is we want to set this menu based on another view model. So we need a raw, well, do we actually? Construct the content. No, so let's tweak this slightly, because the issue we're going to have is the window that this is bound to has a view model that's in core, and it's a proper view model. That needs to be able to set the commands for the attach and everything else. The menu still needs to be in a view model, but we're styling the UI based on another view model. So we need one dependency property for the whole control, and in that case let's just define, in fact, yeah, dependency. I know what's going to happen in my head. I know it's going to be an issue in, coming forward, so let's just add this now. And I'll explain as I'm done why. So in the bubble content view model, which is in the UI, the Versetto Word application, we need one dependency property, and we'll call this, it's basically the UI. So we can call it UIViewModel. Yeah, why not? And this is going to be the bubble content view model, and this is going to be purely for the UI, as in literally for styling this bubble, and nothing else. So we could take that from the base view model. See, the reason we couldn't as a control there, although we could convert that using a converter to a control, a brush is going to be pure UI, and alignment is also going to be left or right. I don't know whether we even need to keep this outside of, I think we'd actually convert this to a proper view model, and simply do value converters to get your control and things. I think we'll do that. So scrap that idea. Let's delete that. Let's move this into the actual view model folder. So in the core project, let's make yeah, there's the thing. Yeah, because that's the point of the view model, I guess, is the attachment menu. So this is going to be very specific to attachment menu. So it's like a pop-up menu. We need a base view model for any kind of pop-up menu. That's what we need. So pop-up menus, or just call it pop-up menu. Then we'll have, drag this in for now. Delete that one. Pop-up menu, we need a base pop-up menu. So this will be base pop-up menu view model. So this is going to be for anything that's going to have pop-up menu that wants to be styled. So this is a view model for any pop-up menus. You can see now we can't use those two, so they can go. So what we need is the background, in this case, can be a string. And it can just be, you know, an RGB value. I think we could actually use a color in core. No. So we've done RGB before in the profile picture, and we just literally specified an alpha RGB. So let's go ahead and just do the same thing there. So let's just do a string, the bubble background in RGB value. And in fact, we probably want a RGB value, just so it might work both ways. But now that is capable of being in core, and we can use a value converter to convert it to a brush. The content is not really going to happen yet. That's going to be in the specific view model types. So in the UI, we detect if it was the type of attachment menu view model, and in that case, we'd then create a new UI element. So basically, just delete that content for the moment. And then alignment is a UI specific thing again. So I don't think we've got anything alignment of left or right, have we? So we're going to need a... No, we haven't. So now we want... I don't know where to put this, I guess data model. Yeah, data model is a good place. So in the data model, let's make a new one for... don't know, what would it be? Left, right, center. So because we can't use horizontal alignment without having namespace issues, we will call ours element horizontal alignment. And this is really just a clone of the WPF alignment. So it's going to be an enum. Don't need all that. And this is going to be an enumerator for, well, don't bother writing that. Horizontal alignment values for an element. And if we just pop back to anywhere in the Setter Word application, let's just see horizontal alignment, step in, and let's just clone it. So paste ours in, and let's actually comment this. Line to the left, to the center, line to the right, fills the width. And now the beauty of that is we can use this in core, and we can also just directly convert that to the WPF horizontal alignment value. So we've now got the alignment of the bubble in here. We now have the default, and this is somewhere else that we want to improve. So right now, just for quickness, I don't want this video to drag on too much in terms of moving things around a lot as opposed to doing the work. We have styles and colors here in the top level application. We really want to move this down to the core so that these are inside the core application, and then we want to bind them, you know, bring them up to here. So for now, just for, again, quickness, we'll come back and tweak this after. Let's just take the foreground light brush, which is FFFF, it's just basically white. And for now, we'll just set it here, which is just RGB in this case. And it's a weird warning. I think it's just thinking I'm doing something I shouldn't be. So the background's going to be white, and we'll even put a note here to do move colors into core and make use of it here. And then the alignment will now be element alignment left. So now we have a true view model in core, and it's called a bubble content view model at the minute. That's going to be changed to a base pop-up menu view model. And rename the constructor the same. And now with that, we want to create the first additional one. So that's the base. So copy and paste that, and let's rename this to base pop-up menu. So this is going to be chat attachment menu pop-up menu. I don't need pop-up menu. Chat attachment pop-up menu view model. And we'll rename that. Constructor the same. Implements base pop-up view model. So we don't need the constructor. Well, we probably do afterwards, but for now we don't. And we've got no additional properties right now, which we will have again. We'll end up having like the actual pop-up menu items. So now we just got this view model that's in core that we can now bind to. So all the way back up to bubble content, and in the bubble content itself, we wanted a dependency property. So let's just get, I can never remember the original dependency property we did here. Let's copy this, paste it here, and we'll call this UI ViewModel. I think, is that what we were going to do? We were going to bind, or are we going to have this pop-up handle specific types and just simply bind to it? Yeah, I think we simply bind to it and have this handling the specific instances. That's what we'll do. So we will bind this data context of the whole thing, which we won't do it here, we do it here. So that's disappeared down there because it's animated. So at this level, we'd bind, and there we go. So now we're back to the chat message list view model. And there we go. So now what we needed, and what we can now get, is a base. In fact, we don't even need the base, we know this one now. It can be in a chat attachment pop-up view model. So this can be attachment menu. View model for the attachment menu. And for the most part, this is going to be just the one pop-up menu that's almost hard-coded in core, but it gives us that flexibility. So now we've got an attachment menu. I'm guessing we don't create it anywhere, so let's make a default. Just make a default menu, which is fine. So attachment menu is a new menu, and that's now got all the properties we need. We can now bind to attachment menu. So in the chat page, we can now make the data context of the bubble content the attachment menu. So now that's going to be bound, finally, to our attachment pop-up view model. And then to get the same appearance in here visually, let's make a design time data context of, and then in that case we also need now to make a chat application pop-up menu view model. So chat application pop-up menu design model, and make a subfolder called design, and let's just nick one of the chat application designs, so it just inherits from, in fact we can just copy that entire thing for now. What's happened there? Oh, wrong place. Let's leave that top bit in just for copy and paste in a moment. This we don't need to do anything with. Delete that. So this is a design model, and it copies the view model, and there's a singleton instance of itself. We could probably base class this little design model thing just to have it an instance automatically and make a generic class, but again, I'll do that in another video. So there we just created a design model that is just right now just a copy of the view model. So now we can do a design time binding of, I think, just local :that.instance. Is that right? Let's just check what we've done before. Yes, that's what we do. We just do oh no, sorry, it's a static, not a binding, obviously. And what you're complaining about now? Yes, it does exist. I think it just needs building. Or, no, it doesn't exist. It's in core, isn't it? Our namespace core equals core. There we go. Yes, it does. Let's just build and see if that goes away. Now, why this is complaining that it doesn't exist when it does. Because I copy and pasted from... Oh, there's a point. We have the wrong namespace on one of these somewhere. Oh no, I just didn't copy and paste the namespace. There we go. So make sure that namespace is right. And is this going to show? We might need to clear, rebuild and run. There we go. So we now have a chat attachment pop-up menu design model, which is an instance of this, which is an instance of this view model, which has basically just these base properties now. So let's first try and get this bubble background to bind. So for that we combined this part now to bubble background and use a converter of string RGB to brush. Now that's gone white, but that's not very promising because it was already white, so let's change it to red. And let's rebuild, and this should change to red. There we go, so we know that's now working. We've now got a solid binding there. So let's bind that to the same, where else did we use it? Here, the fill of the arrow. Let's just rebuild, make sure that goes back to white. And now the alignment, which is somewhere there. This needs to be bound to the arrow alignment. And then we need to, I don't know whether that'll actually work by default. It might automatically, because the enum is an integer, that might already work without a converter. Let's try changing that to right. And then build. No. Okay, so we do need to convert that. Which is quite annoying because it is just an enum of the right value, but never mind. So let's make a converter in that case. Value converters, application based, time red converter, copy and paste anyone. And we'll have this, and just call it horizontal alignment converter. A converter that takes in the core horizontal alignment enum and converts it to a WPF alignment. All this, just go and just quite simply return And we should be able to just do a hard cast like that, maybe. Oh, I don't know why I've run the thing. I could have just broken in. Let's see. We've broken something else at the minute, so let's breakpoint. I'm guessing all of the hits aren't on yet. Let's run and see what we get and if this fails or whether we're just not bound at all. Okay, we're not even bound at the minute, so that's the issue there. Oh yeah, we didn't add the converter, did we? Converter equals horizontal alignment converter. Oh, there you go, and it's working because we can see it. So all we need to do is return the value, and the reason this works is because we copied the exact numbers from the horizontal alignment enum in Windows, and they aren't going to change. They're rock solid. If they were to change, we'd have to do something in here, sort of. First, we get the value, like raw real value equals element horizontal alignment value, and then you'd say like a switch on the real val, and you do a case if the real value is left, return horizontal alignment left, and you do that for every value and sort of switch against it. But because our value is exactly the same, we can literally just cast one enum to a different one, because all this does is takes the value, which is by default an integer, not an enum. It comes in as a number. We can just cast that straight up to that value. So that's all this converter does, and that gives us that left, that right appearance there. And if we change that back to left and build, that should move to the left. So we've now bound that to a core view model, which is right. And then let's see if this all runs now when we get the animation. Okay, so we still broke the animation somewhere, so let's try and figure out why that stopped working all of a sudden. Attachment menu visible. Okay, let's just remove the data context for the moment, see if that was a cause of the issue. We might not see anything now though. Oh, there's a point. Oh, that kind of did break it, but I think I know why. So, what do I? Data contents is attachment menu, and behind the scenes we have attachment menu, which is newed up as an attachment menu. So we have the attachment menu, which is a default, which has all those values. Let's just remove the visibility. Okay, so shown there fine, and then as soon as we are putting an animation in, seem to be losing that. So something to do with this. Let's see, change that to true for a minute in case we've lost something here. Okay, so it's the actual value. So for some reason this attachment menu visible is no longer correct. And it's there, attachment menu visible, and we toggle it there. And it goes from false to true to false rather, and we're just not being animated in. Okay, oh, I know why. staring me in the face. So what we've done is change the data context of the bubble content. And then obviously we're then trying to bind to, well, what I'm thinking is, because we're now trying to bind here, I think somehow this data context is overridden this value. Even though, you know, in this scope, technically right here, we're in the scope of this control, I think this has sort of overridden the value. So what we need to do is set the source of this to, we can bubble up to the base page. Yeah, let's go up to the base page, because that's where the data context is. Or we can just go up to, I wonder if we just go up to the grid itself. Let's just try and go up to the grid. I don't like going up to a generic class. So relative source as relative source. Ancestor type as grid. No? Okay. Don't like that. Is not in find ancestor mode. Oh, you're going to set the mode as well. I don't know what this previous data is. Wonder whether that's what we need, but let's stick to find ancestor. Relative source is not in find ancestor mode. Come on, what did we do here? Relative source. Okay, that's what we did before. Ancestor type grid. Didn't do anything else. So we've done this. Or is that where we are right now? Oh. Relative source self. Mode is find ancestor. Type is grid. Okay, we haven't done the step up before. I thought we'd already done this in order to find. Or is it not relative source? Is it just source? Maybe. No. Okay, it's relative source. Do we just not put that maybe? Find ancestor. Grid. And we might need to go up above the grid because it's actually on the page. Yeah, so let's go up to the page. So, local base page, chat page. But I would have thought this would have bound. I'm pretty sure this is the issue though. This is overriding this animation binding. Let's change this to chat page. I'm pretty sure that should find the view model on this page and get the value. No, really? So something is messing up this. You remove the data context. Let's see if that still works, if that's finding. And then I think we might have a slight bug in the binding. Okay, so that actually doesn't work. That's not found it. We'll figure this out in a minute. So just to make sure this still works. Yeah, so that still works with that binding. So we need to change this back up to finding the binding of this page. So this should have worked. This relative source find ancestor. Yeah, that should have worked. And that local chat page, it should have gone up. I think that goes away when you build. Double check. We go into here, get a base page. and in the constructor we set the ViewModel. We don't set the data context. We actually have a property called ViewModel. That's the issue. So what we'd want, this should all work, but we don't want just that. We want ViewModel.that, I'm thinking. I might have to put one of these in brackets depending, but let's see. Finally, there we go. So now we know we bounce back up to our container chat page and rebind to this. So now when we put the data context back in, it's all okay. And then that's something to note in future. There we go. Finally, that was a good bug hunt. So the issue we had here was, it seems that when you bind the data context to a property or to anything here, if you then add another binding onto this actual control itself, like a binding here, it's now going to be relative to the data context, not to, you know, the container that would normally be the value. So what we've had to do in this case to then bind to the original attach menu visible is to do this relative source, which basically now steps backwards up this tree. So it starts here and it goes up to its parent, which is the grid, and it basically keeps stepping up until it finds what you passed in here, chat page. So it'll step up to the grid and it's not a chat page, so it'll step up to that grid, it's not a chat page, it steps up to here and it is a chat page. So then it finds this, and this is now the source of where we start to try to bind. And then based on the chat page, we look for ViewModel. And if we go to the code behind, the chat page is a base page. And if you go into the base page, oops, wrong button again. If we go, where have we gone now? So we go into the base page. You can see the base page has a public property of ViewModel. So we then bind to the ViewModel, and the ViewModel is the type that we pass into the base page, which is chat message list ViewModel. And then from inside that we then get back to the attachment menu visible. So that long-winded way of doing that is just required because we've changed the data context of the bubble content. And we could get around that again by a dependency property called maybe something different, but to be honest, for the sake of one binding to animate, I'm okay doing that. So we've now bound a bubble content control, just a generic pop-up control, to an attach menu view model, which we can now tweak. We can change the color of. So if you want just the attachment menu pop-up, chat attachment pop-up view model. You want just the attachments menu to be red and all others to be something else. Then in the constructor you could change the bubble background to say red, and now the pop-up for just this attachment menu will be red. And then obviously what we're going to do past this now is going to be to finish off and make the actual attachment menu, so the content inside, and we're going to do things like attach a file from a computer, or potentially take a picture or something like that. So I'll have a menu in here, and we need to keep with the ViewModel binding. So this message text is going to be changed to a content control that's going to be bound to a property probably inside this bubble content. We're probably going to make this control itself capable of handling specific view models. So we might make it capable of handling either the attachment view model directly, and then spinning up an attachment view model, an attachment menu user control that's specific for, you know, that control, which I think is what we'll do. And then inside, you know, instead of putting it inside this control, we'll have mini UI elements that are going to appear inside. So again, it's harder to explain than it is to do. So we'll do that next, I think. We might jump onto, I'm just thinking ahead for the emoji. That's going to be a really, really, really big job. Mainly because of getting emojis inside a font or inside here, and you can paste an emoji in, but in order to understand fully what's going on, I want to really delve into binary code and file formats and ASCII and UTF-8, UTF-16, Unicode, all those types of file formats. I want you to fully understand what's going on there before we move into strings, that because these are effectively, emojis are just basically Unicode characters in text. That's why you can paste them, and they can appear in emails and they can appear in here and things. So I want you to understand that before we do the emoji. So I might do a few videos on file format. Otherwise, we'll carry on with this pop-up menu, and we will fill it with an actual pop-up menu, and then we could move on to say this drop down, which will be a bit easy as well, and then we'll jump onto this pop-up, I'm guessing. Again, any thoughts or anything you didn't understand or anything you want to see in the next video, just let me know. We can always change what we're doing next, but that's my thought, is that we'll either do file formats or we'll carry on with this pop-up menu content.